Hey guys, how you doing? This is Joseph Vinheen from LearnIS Object Tutorials with Team Living Tech. You can find us at www.learnis.org/team. With that, today I basically wanted to cover how you can implement a new object into the website. First things first is you're going to want to download the template.php. You can find that on the website on the download page, or you can get it from the project manager or document already, respectively. They all have access to that. Prior to getting started, you're going to need to have developer access, which means you're going to need the credentials to log in into the FTP site, so that way you can upload these objects and change a few files. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. I just wanted to make it very clear on what to do and what not to do to make sure that the site remains intact and doesn't get broken. First things first, this code right here just calls our login for the development. You don't want to touch that, or else people are going to be able to get in without logging in. Everything up to the start editable, you really don't have to edit. The only thing you do want to touch right here is this title. You want to put in what object you're working on. Let's just make something up. Let's say we're talking about candy. That's the title you want to save, and you're going to want to save it as the name of your object. You're going to want to, let's just call it candy.php. Sure. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to browse down. All this is just styles. Where here, where it says start editable, this is where the editing happens. This is where editing begins. This is the navigation right here. So if we want to take a look at that, anything listed here is going to be in the navigation. So I'll go ahead and show you that right now. It loads. While that's dealing with itself, let me go ahead and talk about this a little bit. Basically, what's going to happen is that you have certain sections within your site. And within your object, you're going to have different heading titles. Now, you're going to want to update these heading titles respectively. It might be a little deceiving just because you think this is the first navigation, but it's actually the last because it's backward engineered. And I'm sorry, I broke it. There we go. The code didn't like me because we're not locked up to our server right now. As you can see, here's the navigation. And if you had to change anything, and I'll talk about this a little bit more as we go through this section. So let's just jump right into here. Again, what you want to change and what you're going to want to look at is right here. You want to enter the title one more time. We're going to call this candy. Now this is another thing too. If you have an image for your object, you want to upload it. If you don't, you can delete this. But per se, if you do, all you got to do really is just change this, whatever the file name is. Put in the height, put in the width. And then again, change what shows up when you hover over it, which is the alt tag. Now, going into everything, if we take a look at the site, our content starts here, and that's basically where we start editing. The first section that we have as the basis of our site man is called Introduction, talking about, okay, what is the object? What is it about? It's a little bit of information. So what you're going to do is you're going to type in your text here in between what we call paragraph tags. Now, if you have more paragraphs, you can easily just add them in with that same tag. So, add in a new paragraph, whatever it may be. And that's one section. Now, if you can see, we have multiple sections. So if you go down, it's basically repeating the same code. And anything you change here, if it's a section here, you're going to want to change it responsibly, here. And I'll tell you why. Let's say that this was called types, because we're talking about candies. And here we're going to want to call it type. Now what this does is it really links our navigation to the section. So if you go back up here where it says background, if we now put in types, it's trying to call this, e.g. what it used to, but now we need to change that to types. And I'll show you why. So when you click on it, it's going to want to find the type section. And for some reason it doesn't like me. I'm sorry, that was my typo. We want to find the type section, so I can go ahead and scroll down to it. So that's that. Here's a new section. Again, any text with a paragraph tag. One important thing to know is when you come to this section called objectives, is that in between this, in this unordered list, in between these list item tags, you're going to want to write down any of your objectives, and they really just simply show up as a bullet point. Next thing is justification. This is really to talk about the purpose. What is the purpose of your object? Why is it important? Most importantly, though, where is it used today and how can it be applied? So this section, I know some may have it, some may not. And same with this tutorial section, but I'm going to cover a little bit more in detail about the tutorial section because I know it's a lot of a code and I don't want to make anybody confused. So with that, again, if you need to change it from tutorials to step-by-step or so on and so forth, you can do that. Remember, you want to keep the name consistent with the navigation. So with that, let's go into this. The div first pane menu list just is calling this right here. And you can, I can go into detail and really show you where that's at if we try to highlight this bad boy. Okay, you can barely see it. Firebug doesn't like me right now, but anyway, it's just calling the instance. Now what happens is that each paragraph tag here, each of these titles, is creating a box. So let's say the first one, let's say it was a video. You leave it a video. And right here where it says menu body, this is where you're going to put the video. And if you're just linking up to YouTube, you can create and you can just implement a certain embed tag and that'll work just fine. You have your video. Or you put text in it. But let's say that was the video and we're all good there. We want to move down to our second. What's going to happen here is that let's just say this was a step-by-step. So we call this step-by-step. And let's say our step-by-step, this is it. Let's just say that was it. What we can do is we can take out this, we can go ahead and paste that in there. And now if we take a look at it, our step-by-step will be a video. Something here, let's just say this was connect, candy, and store. Let's just say that was a tutorial. And all we wanted to say here was yay. Go ahead and do that. We take a look at the site, check candy and store, yay. So you can kind of see how you can play with this. By messing with it, you'll be able to figure it out. But if you wanted to create a new set of accordion to it, then you just have to copy one section, paste it, and give it another title, and type in more text, and you're well on the way. And for any other just basic HTML coding, you can find it anywhere on the web. But that's basically it for adding more content. It's very straightforward, very simple. Now, where it says uneditable, obviously that means anything under that you don't need to worry about. So with that, if you have any questions, you can feel free to contact us. You can go to www.learnis.org/team. You can talk to Dr. Navarrete or any of the project managers. So with that, we know how to create the object. Let me show you exactly how you're going to implement this into the site. Now, one thing you're going to want to do is identify whether you're going to be working with a telecom object or an MIS object. For this example, let's just say it's telecom. You're going to want to log into the FTP. Let me just show you right now what that would look like. If you're using Fire FTP through Mozilla, it just makes it super easy. But what's going to happen is you're actually going to get dropped with those credentials right into here, the telecom. And we're going to want to get this file, index.php. You got to be very careful when doing this because many people are going to be editing this. So you want to keep it very, very respectful. So when you open that file, you're going to see this, and what you want to look for is right here where it says telecom objects. What you're going to do is you're going to add in your object name. You're going to find an empty one and create a new section of that. So let's say this is all taken up. We can create one by just boom, copying that code and pasting it here. And same here, either way, wherever we need to put it. But let's just say here is candy. What we want to do is go ahead and call it to our file, which is candy.php, which you can see we have here. And we just save it. So for the instance of this, I'm going to delete this to take off the login portion of it. But don't worry about that. I'm just testing locally, so that's why. But when you do this, you're going to see here's candy. You click on it, it goes to your candy object. You can see your types, you can see your tutorials, and everything's there. And that's basically it. So when this page is done, you're going to go ahead again and go into your FTP. You're going to connect, maybe at the telecom. You're going to go ahead and upload your index page. And then you're going to go ahead in that. Let's say we're here. You're going to grab your page and you're going to upload it respectively to that root directory. Everything's linked up. Everything's perfect. And you're all ready to go. So with that, again, I want to thank you for joining us. Again, one more time, this is Team Living Tech working with LearnIS. You can find us at www.learnis.org/team.